Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Son of Asmodeus by Barb Jones, brought to you by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me for Chapter 1. Prologue, The Pact. Outside the throne room doors, a war raged between angels and demons. As the archangel Michael killed several demons, his eyes were locked on a demon prince named Balaam. Balaam hurled an angel against the rock and was prepared to strike again. He noticed Balaam was watching him as if he was the next target. Michael was too occupied with a different demon, Beelzebub, to help the fallen angel or deal with the demon prince. Michael prepared to kill Beelzebub with his heavenly sword, but was soon overpowered when a smaller demon snuck up behind him, jumping on his back. He dropped his sword and fought with his hands. Michael's blonde hair was streaked with demon blood from the previous kills, while smudges of blood stained his beautiful high cheekbones. His golden wings were stained with blood as well. The demon made a slight tear in one of his wings in the surprise attack. The wall shook as a loud voice was heard, causing everyone to stop fighting. There will be no fighting inside the gates of heaven. I command you, Lucifer, to leave at once, or I will take your life. I made all that is before me, including you. I have the power to destroy all that I created. The two kingdoms will not fight in my kingdom. Michael looked at Balaam, who hung his head in defeat and left. The demon who attacked him followed. He noticed that demon after demon was leaving, including their master, Lucifer. Angels lay motionless, and Michael's heart broke. He ordered those who were still standing to take the angels' bodies away. Michael found the archangel Raphael and pulled him aside. They sat alone in the empty throne room, contemplating the battle that had just happened, as well as the Lord's command. Michael slammed both hands on the table in rage at the damage done to his brothers and sisters, not to mention the disarray the throne room was in. They needed to find a way to spare each kingdom a significant defeat that would eradicate the world that the Lord, their creator, had fashioned in his image. Michael was frustrated and angry that the Lord and Lucifer didn't want to reconcile. His brother Lucifer refused to return home. He wanted peace, but at what cost to both the Lord and the angels? The Lord had made it clear to everyone in the room that he could eliminate Lucifer and possibly others if this rage for domination continued, and Michael was torn at the thought of losing another brother or sister. As a result, the kingdoms of heaven and hell were divided, and the gates to each were closed to the other, causing the continuous battles between the angels and the demons. There was no other option since Lucifer refused reconciliation. Michael, brother, we cannot continue to watch our brothers and sisters die. My heart is breaking. I know. As I sit here, I wonder what our Lord would allow us to do to save the kingdoms, let alone his children of the world. Michael noticed that he wasn't the only one in a foul mood. Raphael was hurt, broken, and upset because of the fighting and death that had been brought into heaven. As they sat in silence, another angel came running into the room, sounding the alarm that a large demon faction sent by Lucifer had returned for another fight. Michael was in disarray, considering the Lord had just issued the ultimatum to Lucifer, but he trusted the news. This angel was one of the Lord's favorites, Jophiel, beautiful, sweet, and kind. Her dark hair was long, and her choice of weapon was a flaming sword that Michael had given her for justice. She held on to it while trying to shut the doors. A horde of demons broke through, breaking the wood into pieces and sending Jophiel backwards until she fluttered her wings to rise in the air. A great defeat for heaven. The passage was vulnerable as the horde came through. One battle just ended, only to begin again within moments of Lucifer's departure. Something was seriously wrong with that fallen angel. Standing up, he called upon his trusted sword and sought revenge against the fallen angels who entered. The demons were no longer welcome into the kingdom of heaven. Michael raised his sword into the air and called upon the flames of justice. He pointed the sword at the demon horde, making his intention known to all in the room. Michael lunged toward one, slashing him into halves with one strike. On another demon, he used the flames from his sword to burn him. Michael found himself encircled by 5 demons, while Jophiel was cornered by Lucifer. Raphael was in his own predicament as well, with several of the enemy attacking his sword. He raised his sword once more and said, "Flames of heavenly justice, I command you to strike." As his sword lit up in flames, he pointed the tip of the blade toward the demons that encircled him and watched as their flesh was consumed. He pointed at the demons that kept Raphael occupied, and, using his weapon, he freed Raphael while setting the demons on fire. As for Lucifer, he pointed the sword at him, and a circle of fire formed by his feet, allowing Jophiel to use her wings to find her way toward Raphael. Then he commanded the flames to disappear. Impressive, Michael. Can you defeat me, the king of hell, and save your kingdom? I should think not, favorite son of our father. Michael smiled and pointed his sword at him. Lucifer was grinning. Something was amiss. Michael had killed his horde, and yet he did not react. Lucifer, with his sword in hand, moved closer, but maintained his distance. Michael expected him to lunge toward him, but he didn't. He inched closer, savoring each step. As he made his way towards Lucifer, he commanded anyone else in the room to leave the two alone. Standing face to face with his Lord's enemy, a power of grace came over him, granting him confidence in besting this fallen angel. Lucifer had changed little since he fell from grace. He still had the scar that Michael had given him on his cheek for turning his back on the Lord. He was still as beautiful as before, despite his scar. His short, dark hair was the same, except for the hair that now adorned his face. As Lucifer smiled, Michael leapt into the air and moved with an air of confidence about him. His great wings fluttered, giving him the speed and agility he needed. Lucifer was always the stronger one when they practiced together a long time ago. Lucifer made a great leap using his black wings and tried to pull Michael down. Michael moved away and with a flick of his wrist cut into Lucifer's shoulder, leaving a deep gash. Once Lucifer fell to the ground, he dusted off and lunged again. Anticipating Lucifer's move, Michael moved to the left, avoiding his powerful blow. He continued to frustrate Lucifer with several surprising moves, causing him to grow angrier each time. Brother, you've been practicing. Michael kneeled with his head bowed in prayer, but made sure he could see Lucifer in case he moved. Lucifer moved behind Michael, but he felt the fallen angel near him, gripping his hand tighter on his magnificent sword. He pulled his arm back and let the blade cut Lucifer once more, this time entering his side. He watched as Lucifer fled the throne room. Once he was gone, Michael sealed the doors and the passage to heaven before calling Raphael to join him. Come, Raphael, I have a plan. I have need of you because you have the power to guard pilgrims on their journeys. I need a prophet to be the pilgrim, and this plan is one that requires a sacrifice by heaven and hell. No one must know but you and me, our Lord and Lucifer, and it will require a price to be paid by each kingdom. It might just work if you would let me use one of your prophets. However, we must deal with the current situation of our fallen brothers and sisters from this war. This passage must never fall again, especially to demons. Michael didn't know if Raphael would take part or if he was just annoyed. There have been factions popping up in every corner, and he was not yet convinced until Raphael extended his hand, offering it in agreement to send him Elias, the prophet. Michael left to speak to the Lord. Lord, I beseech you to end this battle with Lucifer. Your beautiful children, once angels but now demons, are dead because of this insanity. I have an idea if you'll listen to me. The Lord was silent, nodding in agreement. Michael said he would take care of the details if they agreed on a pact. The Lord listened and agreed. Michael departed and called upon Lucifer. Lucifer, reeling from the wounds inflicted upon him, listened to Michael. Lucifer agreed in kind, leaving Michael satisfied with his task. Both sides had lost significant numbers in angels and demons. Michael met with both the Lord and Lucifer present. In addition, he asked Lucifer to bring the demon prince Asmodeus, and he brought the archangel Jophiel as well. Raphael provided him with Elias. Michael outlined his plan, calling upon Asmodeus and Jophiel to be willing partners. As everyone listened, a spark of interest ignited between the two that remained unseen by all except Michael. The pact was made. Asmodeus and Jophiel were left alone to realize the depths of the pact that was intended by Michael all along. Scottish Monastery, 1329. The monk named Brother John sat writing in his journal using a dimly lit candle so that his tired eyes could still see the parchment. It had been a long week for him, and he hoped for some rest. Brother John remembered his childhood filled with the stories that were told to him by his parents, even though they made little sense to him. He remembered those stories until he entered the monastery at age 14. His father would tell him how demons were once angels in heaven until they fell from grace. As he listened, his mother interjected with stories about archangels, especially Michael, and the heavenly gates. He loved hearing stories at night. After reflecting on his youth, Brother John continued to write, knowing this was his last entry. He heard the faint knock at the door. Grabbing his crucifix, he kissed it and placed it around his neck. He opened the door and nodded at the 3 monks and handed his journal to one of them for safekeeping. They walked down the corridor in somber silence. The monks were with him on his journey, but none could help him complete his task. They had trained him for only one purpose, though he learned other things from them that his own family would not share with him. He was like no other man. Brother John was a powerful exorcist. They never answered his simplest questions about where he came from. It was always the same answer year after year. He was a special child with a unique purpose, adopted by parents that loved him. Now he was a man. Brother John always knew he was different, and over time no one appreciated him until he sought sanctuary here. As they walked, one monk handed him a rosary that he placed around his neck, while the other one handed him a large wooden crucifix, his special Bible, and holy water. Armed now with the tools that he needed, he reached the door at the end of the hallway. He looked out the window and took a breath. John knew the trees were there. He imagined the trees swaying in the breeze and the peacefulness of the forest that surrounded the monastery. This was his ultimate duty to the monastery and his service to the Lord. The monks opened the large door. He ventured into the room lit by candles. They drew a pentagram on the floor. The church forbade them from practicing demoncraft, but there was no other choice. His aim was to protect humans. It was always up to him. Inside the pentagram sat the child. He didn't look frightened or upset. His dark hair was tousled, and his nightclothes ripped from his bed and brought to this room. The child had a crooked nose and bore the mark of hell on his cheek, a symbol Brother John knew too well. He walked toward the child and noticed how the flame had cast their light on his face in the most haunted way. Brother John looked around and searched for more light from the candles. He took a deep breath and prayed for forgiveness for once again breaking his vow of silence. They barricaded the door. They remained silent but acknowledged his sign for prayer for forgiveness. Brother John had been doing this task of exorcism for many years. There was a child in the center. He couldn't cast out the demon despite his efforts. The child demon had taken what physical strength he had left. His spirit was the only weapon that wasn't broken. He looked at the others and noticed their facial expressions. Brother John could sense what people were feeling. There was fear in them. It was one thing that made him different. The demon defeated him despite all his attempts from the past and now. He just couldn't exorcise this demon, and it frustrated him to no end. The child spoke. "Do you fear me, brother? Come closer, brother." The facetiousness from the child annoyed Brother John. "Don't call me that. I serve the Lord and not your brother, spawn of evil. You are the vessel of the devil himself." The child laughed and tried to move, which infuriated Brother John. The child loved his games. What came next blew Brother John away, and it was least unexpected. "Have you ever wondered where you came from, brother? I know you feel different because I can sense what you feel. I know you can sense what I feel. Did you ever wonder why you can do these things? The training by your fellow monks was so specific. Why was that? They knew all along where you came from. Isn't that right, brother monks? Don't you think it's time my brother knew the truth of his origins, or do you want to continue to use him against his true nature?" Brother John was confused, but he looked at the other monks. He knew they would never break their vows of silence for this. He noticed how they shifted in their stances as the child demon continued to stare at them. He asked God to forgive him as he poured the entire bottle of holy water on the child. Though the child screamed louder, it turned to taunting laughter. The child twisted and contorted his little body in ways that made Brother John shudder. As he watched, he remained vigilant in his oath and purpose. The child was no better than the last time he tried to exorcise him. No matter the amount of prayer, he still resisted. Brother John approached the child and made the sign of the cross on him, but the child spat in his face. The child reached the boundary of the circle that kept him trapped and taunted him again. "Brother John, solve this little riddle. Your blood is my blood. My story is your story. We both come from the same father. We are the products of the seed from one so foul, so wicked, that neither heaven nor hell knows what to do with us. Follow me, and I will show you what it is you seek. Which demon is our father? How special are you, brother? Brother John placed the crucifix on the child's forehead, and he screamed again. There was no laughter, only the smell of burned flesh instead. The child turned towards the other monks and spoke in a very ancient language. The monks' flesh melted off their bodies, leaving a puddle on the floor. Brother John was terrified at that moment. The child demon had never retaliated like this. He wasn't certain where he came from. He felt a pull as if it were telling him to go. His will was strong, though he felt defeated. In the end, the pull won him over. He submitted. He looked at the child and said, I will follow you for the truth. The child shared the secret with him. When he was done, Brother John's world was never the same.